We've been discussing the absolutely salivating, aggressive ambition from Trump to just get the highest number, regardless of how accurate or reasonable the approach to this is. Just up those deportation numbers. Just get people so I can brag about it. And they're even sort of gaming the Google SEO by releasing press releases about arrests that happened before the Trump administration even took over. But there's this obsession, right, with this mass deportation going off like Trump said that it would. And what's happening, and this was inevitable whenever you heard the type of rhetoric that MAGA and Trump would use about immigration. It wasn't just about enforcing laws. It wasn't just about an immigration system that's broken. It was about scaring the bejesus out of people with wildly hyperbolic and dehumanizing rhetoric, right? Which actually gets in the way of real solutions, real security, etc. And what that's leading to, again, inevitably, is folks who are U.S. citizens, even in this story, and in this story, specifically someone who voted for Trump, being detained by ICE, let's be honest, because they look some type of way. And that's what this story from a local news station, an NBC affiliate, News 4, will break down. If you appreciate this show, please do click the subscribe button. Here we go.
The man we spoke with is a U.S. citizen. He provided us with documentation of his legal status. He says this experience has shaken his faith in the immigration enforcement efforts of President Donald Trump, for whom he voted, he says. This is what Yenzi Machado managed to record on his phone Wednesday. He says while he was driving to work with two other men, he was stopped by ICE agents on Lamont Drive in Manassas, a short distance from his home. He says he was confused by what was happening, why agents surrounded the pickup truck. He spoke with our sister station, Telemundo 44 reporter Rosbelis Quinones, who was the first to report his story.
And they just got out of the car with the guns in the hands and say, turn off the car, give me the keys, open the window. And, everything was really fast.
Machado says the agents said the name of a man they were seeking for a deportation order, someone who had given Machado's home address. He said that was not his name, and he did not know anyone by that name. He offered to show them this, his real ID compliant Virginia driver's license. It has a star in the upper right corner and requires proof of lawful status.
They didn't ask me for any ID. I was telling the officer if I can give him the ID, but he said that just keep my hands up, not moving.
I got all the ID I need, brother.
And then after that, he told me to get out of the car, and then he put the handcuffs on me. And then he went to me and said, how did I get into this country? And if I was waiting for court or if I have any case. And I told him I was an American citizen. And he looked at his other partner like, smiling, like saying, can you believe this guy? Because he asked the other guy, do you believe him?
Machado said he was uncuffed and immediately...
Hey, you don't have to believe him. You could just stop harassing him and check his dang ID. And this is what happens too. It sounded like there was some tip or something and it was a false identity. You're having, let's be honest, a lot of MAGA supporters just picking up the phone and calling the hotline every time. I don't even want to say the joke I was going to say, but every time they characterize someone as something, okay? And so then you're just upping the cases of harassment and you're making people feel unsafe and threatened. You could lead to unsafe scenarios for the officers and for the individuals when the guns are drawn from the get-go.
Saying, can you believe this guy? Because he asked the other guy, do you believe him?
Machado said he was uncuffed and immediately released after showing his driver's license. The two men with him were taken into custody. He does not know why. The incident has caused him to reflect.
Because, like I say, I was Trump supporter. I voted for Trump last elections, but because I thought it was going to be the things, be pointless, like just go against criminals, not every illegal Hispanic looking like that they will assume we are illegals,
So, do you think that's what they're doing now?
That's what they're doing now. They're just following Hispanic people looking like.
Immigration lawyers suggest that residents and citizens carry ID with them at all times. In Manassas, Jackie.
I mean, it's a pretty dystopian environment that's being created. He's saying that it's now his belief after supporting Trump that really what ICE agents are going to start doing, because they're getting so much pressure to just hit quotas, they're just going to start following around people who quote unquote look Hispanic. And you can imagine how dangerous of territory that gets to. It sounds like this individual handled it with a lot of grace and calm, but we've seen in the past when you approach someone who you just pulled over, it's not like there was a threat. You just pulled the guy over and then you have your guns drawn. A lot of people would be less calm, and that could escalate very quickly and very disastrously. And what we keep hearing from people is, wait, I didn't know me. I didn't know he meant me. When he talked about poisoning of the blood, I didn't know he meant me. And that's why we kept saying, let's have the discussions about, and let's stand for security on the southern border, and in addition to that, elsewhere. Let's address more comprehensively immigration problems. Of course, sometimes there's going to be deportations with folks. You're going to start and prioritize people who have some sort of criminal record, but then you also don't have to stoop to the utter abandonment of any humane approach to the issue and no recognition of individuals' humanity and our shared humanity. And when people prioritize over solutions like we've seen with Trump, the politically advantageous fear-mongering and dehumanization, it leads to this. Because when you start making judgments about the value of a human being separate from the law, then the legal status, the paperwork, the law following or break, that becomes wildly irrelevant. And now it's just about a person or a group of people. And that's what Trump did with the animals language, with the putting up of posters of people saying these are dangerous threats. And then, of course, the most recognizable phrase, poisoning of the blood, that harkens back to some of our worst times in history. And all of that leads to, yes, you, sir. And yes, the community in Florida that was supportive of Trump, and then some of their fellow neighbors, Venezuelans, who had temporary protected status, that being revoked. Now, if they're found and deported, they'll be sent back to a country after they had legal status, sent back to a country where they could be brutally treated for speaking out against Maduro. Or more recently, we're hearing considerations within the Trump administration take away Ukrainians' legal status, making them subject to deportation, refugees from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So yes, when you see a detachment from thoughtful policy discussion about these things, which I can tell you, we can solve all the problems that we speak of. We can address logistical, security, etc. problems. We can do all of it, and it can stay thoughtfully about policy and not about the value of people or the humanity of people. But when you detach from that and you get into the Trump territory of rhetoric, this is the inevitable end. Yes, you. Yes. And that's a general you to so many people who thought, wait, I thought it was going to be them. What? No, I didn't mean me. And that's why you have to hold strong principles on these things, because often it will be applied a lot more broadly if you don't oppose bad principles than you'd expect. NBC, just following Hispanic people is the quote, citizen detained by ICE, questions, vote for Trump. And we're hearing of these stories, people just being harassed. A veteran had a similar encounter. Another story we talked about was a supporter of Trump's whose husband went to check in. He has legal status, check in for at an immigration office for one of his check-ins, and they didn't release him. And they just kept harassing him, trying to convince him to sign paperwork consenting to his own deportation. A naturalized Hispanic man says he was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents who were looking for another person on a deportation order. Now the man is questioning his vote for President Donald Trump. So the takeaway, again, you have to be able to stand on principle. That doesn't have to take away at all if one of the reasons they voted was they really were concerned concerned about border problems or any other problem, you can support individuals who care about those things and want to implement comprehensive solutions to them, and also don't sacrifice our dedication to humane approaches and rhetoric directed at those solutions. Share your thoughts in the comments.